Tonight on Most Daring. Whether they're pushed too far or battling for their survival, everyday people are fighting back. First up, a maniac assaults an elderly clerk. But the senior still got some fight left in him. Plus, it's man versus nature when a homeowner's attacked by a rabid fox. And when a sneaky hippie dives for the till, a cashier cries foul. Then, a drunken thug sticks up a tiny gift shop, but the owner hits him with a big surprise. These are the most heart-stopping moments ever caught on tape. True stories of real people in real danger. This is Most Daring, Fighting Back.
Gloucester, Massachusetts. It's 5:30 in the morning at a convenience store. And the clerk behind the counter is an older man. The kind that robbers think is an easy mark. Jason Edwards is there for a cup of coffee when he spots a suspicious character in the parking lot.
His eyes were real glassy, bloodshot too, and he looked like he was ready to kill somebody.
Jason pays for the Java when suddenly the madman bursts in the door, tosses a lotto machine to the side, and goes for the cash in the register. But the old-timer shows some gumption. He whips out a hammer and delivers a claw-first hit. Amid the desperate struggle, the tool drops to the floor. And Jason realizes the besieged grandpa is running out of energy.
I had to get this individual off there, the clerk, because the clerk is an old gentleman. He was in rough shape.
He picks up the hammer and starts pounding.
He stopped there whacking the clerk, and he started to come after me. He tried to grab the hammer out of my hand. I says, "How dare you try to grab this hammer out of my hand?" And I whacked him a few times more there on his arm.
The thief is forced to retreat. He breaks free and delivers a parting shot to the employee. The punch sends the elderly man reeling. With Jason hot on his heels, the outlaw bolts and slips away, while the hard-nosed worker calls the cops. The attacker, Ricky Marshall, is caught just hours later, still wearing a jail ID from his last incarceration, and sentenced to 3 years.
People like me don't tolerate these crooks like this, and they get what they deserve. And that's a lot of jail time, I hope.
The crook thought he'd score an easy wad of cash, but thanks to an elderly man with a hammer, this bad guy got nailed. Beacon, New York. Returning from a grocery run, Gary Kemp is about to be caught in the most bizarre fight of his life. He doesn't realize he's being stalked. And as he returns to his pickup, Gary is suddenly attacked by a rabid fox.
That just came out of nowhere, out of the corner of my eye. I saw it, and by the time, I realized it was charging me.
Caught off guard, Gary beats back the feral critter with the only weapon he has.
He got me on the front, and he wouldn't let go. And that's when I struck him with the bread.
The baked good beating prevails, but the nightmare isn't over.
I started to pick the bread up, And as I was picking it up, the fox started coming back down the road again. But my neighbor's German Shepherd was chasing him. I was afraid that he was going to attack me again. And I started to run away. I had nothing left to hit him. The bread was gone, you know.
Thankfully, the fox changes course. Daily rabies shots save Gary's life. The injections are painful, but compared to what he's been through, they're a walk in the park. If you're going to go stealing in Aiken, South Carolina, you better have quick hands. Unlike this platinum perp. His first mistake,
I didn't get $1 for it.
daring to mess with Cashier Vicey Jones. The tie-dyed bandit reaches for the money, but Vicey grabs hold instead.
He jumped like this, and as he jumped, he pushed me, and I grabbed him by his arm.
The robber dashes off with a few bucks. But not before the screeching shopkeeper gives this beatnik a beatdown.
I hit him in the headlock. He wiggled out the headlock. He figured out how to get out of that, and he ran out the door.
In seconds, the crook is gone, but in his conspicuously groovy threads, he doesn't get far.
He was caught 3 hours later because I was able to distract him, the vehicle, and a partial tag number.
This hippie sneak, Gary Murphy, thought he could get some free love from the cash register. But thanks to a human burglar alarm, he'll be mellowing out for 15 years in jail. At a mom-and-pop convenience store, trouble walks right through the door. A drunken lout hungry for cash. The brute is too plastered to climb the counter. But when the owner confronts him, the goon turns vicious and threatens to use a weapon concealed in his pocket. Having no other option, the proprietor complies. As the thug pillages the register, the shopkeeper's rage builds. When the villain grabs the loot with both hands, the owner strikes back. A mean right hook rocks the suspect back on his heels. He's pummeled into the corner, then slammed headfirst against a display stand. Finally, the conquered criminal runs for the hills. He came in like a bull in a china shop, but after facing down this no-nonsense store owner, the hooligan left like a scared lamb.
Coming up, a man turns the tables on a pair of home invaders until they turn their getaway car on him. Plus, a trio of clerks takes a robber by storm, battling back with 2 feet of cold steel. And later, an early morning raid on a country store puts 2 thieves in the crosshairs of Southern justice. On Most Daring, Fighting Back.
Chicago, Illinois. Store owner Sam Jella and his brother Eddie have worked together for years. But today, they'll have to team up to save each other's lives. A masked gunman storms the counter and shoves Eddie away from the register.
When he came with the gun, he put the gun in my face. And he pushed me. He said, freeze.
Sam immediately tries to placate the robber.
I was cool with him. I told him just take money and leave.
But Eddie doesn't want to give this guy money. He wants him to pay. A coworker jumps in to help. It's an adrenaline-fueled 3-on-1 beatdown. Eddie lunges at the man and wraps him up. Sam immediately grabs hold of the gun. The brothers and their coworker pummel the hood to the floor with a barrage of blows.
I grab a bottle of liquor behind the register. I hit him in his head.
As they pin the crook down, Eddie yanks off his mask and gets a surprise. He's a regular customer of theirs.
We don't have problem with this guy before, nothing, never.
Sam hurries to call the police, leaving Eddie to control the suspect. And he's got the perfect tool for the job. A 3-foot steel sword.
I keep the sword sometimes in case something happen, you know, you never know.
Exposed and terrified, the hood makes an absurd claim.
The robbers say I'm joking. I told him, what'd you say? He said, I'm joking.
But when the man tries one last time to escape, Sam lets him know the joke's over. By the time cops arrive, the bad guy has lost the will to fight. He thought he could talk his way out by claiming it was a gag, but it only turned him into the punchline. Suburban Kansas. This professional landscaper has no idea his life is about to change forever. While he's tending to his lawn, 2 armed thieves suddenly storm his property. What happens next is so terrifying that the landscaper still fears for his safety and insists on remaining anonymous.
My whole goal is to get in the house and get safe.
Jeff bolts for his door and locks himself inside. But the attackers won't let him get away so easily.
They wanted to probably shut me up or do something to kind of silence me. And the one guy with the gun apparently, tried to fire at me, and you can see on the video that his gun does jam.
The malfunction saves Jeff's life. But while he hides inside, the brutes ransack his property. Then, through the window, Jeff sees them stealing his truck. At that moment, his anger moves him to action.
I decided to fight back because I wasn't going to stand by and watch them as they tried to maneuver the vehicle and the trailer and my equipment out. That's when I ran and got my gun, and I came out the front door, ablazing at them.
The stunned outlaws duck for cover as Jeff opens fire. The bullets come within inches of their faces.
The second they saw me, though, they hit the gas real hard, and you can see them skid out trying to get away from me. And I put 2 bullets into the front windshield then.
Jeff shoots to kill, but when he misses, the assailants take aim at him. The driver floors it, steamrolling into Jeff as the desperate homeowner tries to dive out of the way.
All I remember was just standing there, seeing the truck right in front of me, and then the next I was on the ground, looking at the truck.
Incredibly, as the pickup jackknifes on Jeff's lawn, he's able to get up and run away. The suspects bail out and flee the scene in their own vehicle, empty-handed and scared for their lives. The fugitives remain at large, but Jeff's bullet-riddled truck is evidence of how close they came to the ultimate payback.
I consider myself extremely lucky that I wasn't hurt any worse than just a couple cuts and bruises and not killed that day. I feel I'm a very, very, very lucky person.
When would-be robbers threatened his life, this fearless man fought back with hot lead. But for his show of force, this landscaper nearly got mowed down. In Hawkins, Texas, there's a convenience store where a criminal learns a tough lesson in how to get beat up by Candy Ellison.
I was sitting at the desk, you know, it was typical Friday night, and a guy came walking through the door.
The crazed man has no weapon, but with a fistful of anger, he demands cash. Candy doesn't budge.
I thought it was a joke, and I was like, "Sir, I don't have any money to give you, and what we do have is not mine to give to you."
But the persistent bandit won't take no for an answer.
We were playing a kind of a cat and mouse game about the counter, and I was gonna try to jump over it. But that wouldn't work.
Cornered by the holdup man, Candy tries to scare him off with a bar stool.
I had told him, "You have to get out of here or I'm gonna hurt you." And he said, "No, you won't. I'll kill you."
But when the dangerous thug steps behind the counter, she hurls her chair at the intruder, only to have him use it against her. And then, amazingly, Candy turns the tables yet again, attacking the attacker with the very same stool.
I just kind of planted down on my feet with everything I had and shoved back and didn't stop until we hit the coolers, and I twisted it in his chest.
Candy's still not done with her prey. As the lawbreaker stumbles outside,
I just became enraged at what happened, and the first thing that I grabbed that touched my hand was a coffee cup.
her all-star arm shatters the glass door behind him.
Barely missed his head, but I was trying.
Insulted, threatened, and pushed to the edge, this brave store clerk got the upper hand on her tormentor and fired back with a vengeance.
Up next, a speed freak invades a pharmacy, but the staff puts the skids on his scheme. Plus, 3 saleswomen defend their store against a brutal jewel thief. And dim-witted crooks make a major blunder by trying to hold up a biker bar. Then, a renegade with a rifle is no match for a customer with a mean hook. Straight ahead on Most Daring, Fighting Back.
Grand Rapids, Michigan. The Eastgate Pharmacy is known for its friendly staff, and employee Jenna Clark is a big part of that tight-knit family atmosphere.
We're very close with our customers. They all know us. They'll call, talk to us on the phone.
Like any close relationship, there's always some give and take. But today, one desperate drug addict is only out for the take. Manager Ryan Snow is stunned when a regular patron steps behind the counter.
Well, he pulled $200 or $300 out of his pocket and put it on the counter.
The customer wants to buy some potent painkillers without a prescription. Ryan refuses the request and orders him out. But just minutes later, the man returns to the off-limits area, and his bizarre behavior confounds the workers.
And he was down on his feet, squatted down. He was rocking back and forth. He was sweating profusely.
Suddenly, the fiend makes a grab for the Oxycontin pills. Ryan and Jenna leap into action.
He's between the two of us, Ryan and I, and then gonna be able to make it out the door when we're in the very back of the store. It wasn't gonna happen.
He was strong. He was desperate. I was on a bucking bull, and I didn't know what the hell was going to happen. He knocked me off of him back into the shelving. He went knocking into the pharmacy door and spilled out onto the counter.
Customers rally to control the madman, finally pinning him to the ground. Police arrive within minutes and cuff the jonesing druggie.
I was very aggravated. I'm not gonna swear on camera because it wouldn't be ladylike, but I was very upset.
The staff risked everything when they chose to tangle with an unpredictable junkie.
I was angry, you know. I wanted to fight back. You know, didn't want him to get away.
They only hope the wild addict learned that chasing a fix only causes more problems. At a posh jewelry store, 3 high-class sales ladies become unlikely vigilantes. They're doing inventory when suddenly a masked bandit bursts in. The violent thief shoves one of the blue bloods out of his way, then belts another, dropping her to the floor. The fallen clerk's co-workers rise up to her defense. Or at least, they try. One stalks behind the bagman's back, but when he notices her, he clocks her in the face. Then he mercilessly belts her colleague and uses her body to smash the display case. The suspect stuffs his bag with $200,000 in jewels. But the 3 sophisticates refuse to surrender. They scream and wail to attract attention. The robber cuts his ransacking short and takes off. He wasn't scared by their fists, so these brave ladies fought back with their voices. Their piercing cries scared the attacker into an early exit, saving them thousands of dollars in jewelry and possibly their lives. At a social club in Australia, members enjoy casino games, croquet, and a pint after work. On this quiet evening, a white sports car pulls up to the club's gates. But the passengers inside aren't guests. They're hold-up men. And they're armed with samurai swords. The thugs march right to the bar, make everyone lie down on the ground, and promptly start raiding the till. But these criminal masterminds don't realize a huge gang of bikers is holding a meeting in the next room.
We had no forewarning, there was no screaming, there was no yelling. It was business as usual, and I was in the middle of a speech. And was interrupted by the words, "They're robbing the joint."
Jerry Van Cornwall and dozens of his fellow bikers leap to their feet.
Instantly 50 people grabbing chairs, grabbing anything that wasn't nailed to the ground or wasn't bolted down.
The first thief warns his partner, then takes off, leaving him trapped behind the bar. The bikers chase the man through the casino.
He straight away took off towards the nearest exit, which happened to be a glass door.
His run for freedom doesn't go as planned.
Forgetting to push the button to open the door, he ran straight through it at 110.
The second suspect is flushed from the bar by club members.
I could see his black shadow moving behind the bar, and I said to the security guard, "Is there another way out of here?" He said, "Yes, there's a loading dock around the front."
Jerry, followed by 50 other angry bikers, race to intercept the hapless rogue.
He was a big boy. He was quite a good-sized lad. So I thought I got in close enough and I tackled him. He can't hit me.
The move works, and the offender is thrown to the pavement. A third member of the gang, the getaway driver, sees the takedown and decides to save his own skin. After disarming and disabling the gangsters, Jerry's men hold them for the police.
We hog-tied him, basically, until the police got there.
These desperados appeared to have it all figured out. It seems they simply failed to check the club's event calendar. Dania Beach, Florida. A man enters a crowded convenience store as an ordinary shopper. But in a few moments, he'll leave as a hero. As he waits in line to pay, suddenly, an armed robber barges in, aiming a rifle at the cashier. Patrons back off, knowing the high-powered weapon could wipe out half the store. But as the terrified employee digs for cash, the trigger man digs into his pockets. And the sharp-eyed customer suspects something's gone wrong. On impulse, he pounces. The customers hold the suspect down until Detective Davis Acevedo arrives moments later.
When I was entering the store, I was actually expecting a shootout. That's what I was expecting. I didn't expect to see bad guy on the ground with customers on top of him.
The patron who delivered the knockout blow initially backed away. But when the gunman took aim at the clerk, something didn't add up. It's only later that Detective Acevedo figured out exactly what went wrong.
He had a 9mm pistol round inside of a rifle, which it wasn't gonna fire. If he would have had the right caliber inside that rifle, I mean, I'm pretty sure he would have pulled the trigger or shot somebody.
Knowing the outlaw could still use the rifle as a lethal club, the vigilante tackles him, ramming him into the counter, then body slamming him into a shelving unit. Outnumbered and unmasked, the cowardly criminal hands over his firearm and his dignity.
It's not every day that you see somebody holding up a store and you have customers that actually jump in and subdue the bad guy and prevent the situation from going bad. It's worse.
The half-cocked crook was carrying the wrong caliber bullets. And thanks to a quick-thinking customer, his would-be heist was one big misfire.
Still to come, thieves pulling a smash and grab. Meet a short-order cook with a short fuse. Then,
at speeds of about 90 right now,
a highway hellraiser leaves police in his dust. But some vigilante truckers close the lid on his getaway. And furious bank customers go after a shotgun-wielding maniac. On Most Daring, Fighting Back.
Castella, California.
we're hearing from CHP that this started as a traffic stop for an unsafe lane change.
An early morning commute on I-5 is disrupted by a dangerous driver's run from the law.
We got speeds of about 90 right now.
But one fed-up motorist is going to put this menace in his place. The suspect blazes past big rigs up a notorious mountain pass called the Grapevine. One cruiser races ahead to make sure the path is clear,
Look at that, he goes right by him.
And to set a trap.
And swerving hard to the right. I think they had spikes out there. I don't know if he hit him.
The runner cuts across 3 lanes, dodging officers who are laying out spikes. The car emerges intact.
From here, it looks like he's still got 4 good tires.
Cops stay close, looking for another opportunity. But ironically, the slow-moving truckers are way ahead of them. They send word over their radios about the pursuit, and the news travels up the grapevine with lightning speed. Suddenly, the bandit hits congestion.
We're slowing down here now. This could be some construction-related traffic.
He searches for an escape route, unaware he's been set up for a civilian takedown.
Oh, almost hits that truck. He's back into the lanes. Now he's cut off. That semi just wedged him in.
A set of 18-wheelers forms a roadblock, and they catch their guy in a crush.
Unbelievable.
Patrolmen surround the vehicle, but the stunned driver offers no resistance.
All right, he's out of the car, and they are taking him into custody.
Authorities later learned that the man, Stephen Burns, ran because he was in a stolen car. He thought the highway would be his road to freedom. But thanks to some diligent truckers, he got a 3-year detour.
Oh, almost hits that truck.
Sacramento, California. Vietnam vet Harry Baldwin makes an early morning stop at an ATM, not knowing he'll need all his military training for this withdrawal. Harry works the machine, but suddenly finds a gun in his face. The crook demands cash, unaware of his foolish error. Harry hasn't gotten any yet. When the thief checks Harry's empty wallet, the veteran makes a bold move and grabs the firearm. The Midnight Marauder holds onto the weapon, and the vet quickly takes cover behind a pillar. But when the mugger confronts him again, Harry's instinct kicks in. He's about to bet his life that this kid is bluffing. The gutsy soldier calmly retrieves his card, declining the withdrawal, while the robber lingers behind in disbelief. Finally, the bad guy skulks away, allowing Harry to get his cash and leave. Harry showed amazing resolve in the face of a lethal threat. Against this fearless war veteran, the punk never had the mettle to win a battle of wills. Middleton, England. 3 masked outlaws ambush an armored car, attacking the guard with a razor-sharp machete. The gang leader slashes at the victim's bones with his 2-foot-long blade. But if he's looking for an easy score, he picked the wrong guy. Even as he's bleeding from the vicious assault, the brave guard flings the gang leader onto the grass while fending off 2 accomplices brandishing carving knives. Unarmed and outnumbered 3-1, he knows he can't win. All he can do is convince the criminals they're not getting his money. And once they realize there's no way into the locked vehicle, the suspects flee empty-handed. The bandits thought they could intimidate the guard with a supersized machete. By holding his ground, the courageous security man exposed them as a bunch of hacks.
Still ahead, a brutal killer becomes the target of vigilante justice. And later, when a pre-dawn raid goes wrong, Two early bird crooks catch a slug. Plus, when police can't contain a dangerous road warrior, a fed-up trucker shuts him down. On Most Daring, Fighting Back.
Whitesburg, Kentucky.
Boggs has been charged with 3 counts of murder, 1 count of robbery in the first degree.
Jerome Boggs is being arraigned for an unthinkable crime. The cold-blooded murders of a father and his 4-year-old son. The victim's anguished relatives listen quietly as the unrepentant killer enters a not guilty plea. But as the convict is led away from the courtroom, the family's pain boils over into an explosion of rage. With the horrific crime only 5 days old, raw emotion takes hold of the dead man's brothers, and they lunge for the suspect. But they're intercepted by security before they reach their target. While guards restrain them, Boggs is directed out the back. He is later sentenced to life in prison. But given the anger he stirred in his victim's family, he's lucky he made it to the trial. Sometimes even a squadron of cops could use an outraged citizen's help. Police chase down a man who just held up a gas station. What they don't know is that they're about to get assistance from the driver of this red truck. The renegade won't stop, even though he's riding on shot-out tires. But the civilian trucker's got a 7-ton solution. The heavy hauler makes his own rolling roadblock and clips the car. The perp isn't giving up, and neither is the trucker. When the criminal regains the road, a hit from the reversing rig sends the vehicle spinning out of control. The flatbed blocks off the relentless offender's last chance to get away. Cops surround the hoodlum. His run from the law is through. But this time, officers will credit a fearless truck driver for delivering justice. Blagoveshchensk, Russia. A peaceful day at the downtown bank is rudely interrupted by a hooded gunman bent on stealing their rubles. Armed with a shotgun and a pistol, the bank robber coolly walks past customers and sends workers diving for cover as he demands the cash. With a rifle at his hip, the hold-up man heads confidently toward the safe until the security guard takes him out with a rushing tackle. It's a risky move. The two men struggle over the gun, neither gaining the upper hand. Suddenly, a brave customer joins in the fight. But the furious 2-on-1 battle takes a nightmarish turn. The shotgun goes off. The blast fills the room with smoke and flame. But as the dust settles, the daring patron realizes it's the thief himself who's been shot. For a desperate offender, this sleepy small-town bank looked like an easy score. he didn't count on two fearless men who were courageous enough to take him down.
Coming up, two thugs strike a country deli and get a stinging taste of justice. Next on Most Daring, Fighting Back.
Arrington, Tennessee. Morning comes early at the Almaville Market, and it's Chef Donna Blanks' job to be ready.
I get here a couple of hours before the store opens at 5 o'clock because I have a lot of cooking to do.
But today, she'll serve two thugs a helping of hot lead.
When that window broke, inside the store, it sounded like a shotgun going off. I screamed a scream that I had never hollered before. I got the gun. All I saw was that red sweatshirt trying to come in the winter. I didn't realize I was cursing like that.
Donna quickly calls 911. But the thieves are long gone. They escaped with nothing except their lives, and hopefully a high-caliber lesson.
To me, they're punks. Instead of being in bed getting ready to go work themselves, they're out there taking something else that somebody's done worked hard for. If people don't start fighting for what they have, they're not going to have nothing. I am going to defend myself in this store.
When faced with disaster, they chose not to cower. Not for their honor, but for their survival. And in the end, they stood tall and beat the odds by fighting back.